Welcome to The World Today. I'm Waqas Majeed Khan. Today we have three topics of discussion, and of course they are continuing with our vein in which we've been talking about the Pakistan-US relationship. The first one, of course, is about Pakistan's losses in the war on terror, and unfortunately they seem to have failed to make an impact on the US discourse. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about the United States conveying concrete steps that Pakistan must take to resume the security aid flow, and also recalibrating the Pakistan-US relationship. Our second topic is about China and China's statements regarding the United States statements castigating Pakistan. China opposes the United States statements linking terrorism to Pakistan. We'll talk a bit about that as well. And finally, our third topic of discussion is closer to home, and in that, the Peshawar High Court has ordered the release of TNSM's Maulana Sufi Muhammad on bail. We'll also talk about the repercussions of that decision and how that's going to affect the war on terror and the National Action Plan. So let's get the conversation started. I'd like to introduce my guests in the studio. Joining me today, we have Brigadier Aftab Afzal, and along with him, we have Javeed Sadiq Saab. Thank you very much, sir, for being here. Javeed Saab, I'll start with you, sir. Finally, there seems to be an acknowledgement. We've heard the American administration talk repeatedly of the sacrifices that Pakistan has made. Mr. James Mattis said that Pakistan has lost more than the entire NATO force in terms of military personnel in the war against terrorism. According to some reports, sir, 74,000 people over the last 14 years. And the cost to the Pakistani economy, sir, has been $123 billion. So when we talk about the US paying some recompensation for the losses that Pakistan has incurred in their war against terrorism, where do we find ourselves today, sir?
I think the world must recognize the fact that in the war against terror in the last 10 to 11 years, or maybe more than that, the biggest sufferer was Pakistan. Pakistan had to bear the brunt of this war against the terrorism. And as you have pointed out the figures, that we have lost more than 70,000 people. I think more than 6,000 military officers have laid down their lives in this war. And these innocent citizens of Pakistan have also been killed in this war through the various, terrorist attacks.
And not to mention the APS children.
Children and other people, innocent people. So that's a huge loss compared with the American loss. You have mentioned the figure, the American and the NATO troops who have been combinedly killed in Afghanistan in the war against terror. Second is the economic loss that we have suffered, $123 billion. Mr. Trump, in his very controversial tweet, has said that we have foolishly given Pakistan $33 billion. Although this figure is being contested because Pakistan never received $33 billion in the last 15 years, only I think $12 to $13 billion. That's Pakistan's point of view, and Pakistan's stand is that we never received $33 billion as being claimed by Mr. Trump. Pakistan's sacrifices have been massive against this war against terror. It was not Pakistan's war. Pakistan was not in any case involved in 9/11 tragedy. And the attack, according to US, was launched from Afghanistan. Osama bin Laden and his cohorts, they were all based in Afghanistan. But Pakistan was coerced into a situation where Pakistan was sucked into that situation, and Pakistan had to cooperate with the International Alliance Against Terrorism. So Pakistan had to give its bases for the US military operations, for their aircraft to fly from our bases. Pakistan also agreed to share intelligence with them. And if Pakistan had not played its role in this war against terror, the US would not have been able to achieve whatever it has achieved against terrorism and extremism. US would not be able to eliminate Al-Qaeda and its affiliates from Afghanistan.
Then
and
why is this
region.
point lost on the Americans, sir? It's categorical that you've just put it very plainly, and there is no debate on that as well. That's acknowledged by the Americans in certain quarters. But then why is there this attitude, belligerence towards Pakistan from the U.S. president especially, sir?
I believe that now that the war is concluding in Afghanistan, according to some analysts, and at the fag end of this war, the Americans are realizing that they have not been able to achieve their objectives. A, that they have not been able to completely eliminate terrorism and extremism from Afghanistan. That still almost 40% of Afghanistan's soil is being controlled by extremists and terrorists and by Taliban. And the other objective which was set for the American forces to come into Afghanistan was to make it a democratic, modern state.
We'll come to that later, sir. I want to bring Brigadier Saab into the conversation. Brigadier Saab, the Global Terrorism Index, sir, is a study which is a survey conducted on whatever the figures for the terrorism are across the world. And they have also said that there has been a marked decline in terrorism-related violence since 2014, partially due to the military operations targeting militants in the tribal areas. And they also acknowledge that Pakistan has made major strides in curbing terrorism. So why is this fact lost on our American friends?
Like when we started this war on terrorism, it was basically war of Pakistan. But however, when after 9/11 the American came into Afghanistan, so Pakistan carried out all type of cooperation with them, and then we under some agreement we were fighting the war together. So it was in our interest also that the Americans are there. If they are fighting against the Taliban and these extremist and militant groups, so on our side of the border we are fighting, right? So it was cooperation between two countries, and it was in the larger interest of Pakistan, and Americans were also extending all type of cooperation in that regard. But at that time also, this element of do more was always there. On one side, they used to recognize the Pakistan sacrifices, the contribution of Pakistan on war and terrorism, and on the other side, they always used to criticize Pakistan also and ask for do more. So this is something not a new phenomena that we are facing. It's, I think, part of that package that we are working with them since long. Now, after the Trump administration came in power in USA, so there was some change in the policy, and I think that the change of policy mainly was steered by the personality of Mr. Trump, and he started giving different statements, started giving different policies, and he has been pressurizing his own administration to do these type of statements, bring statements and impression in the world. In the meanwhile, if we see our geostrategic environment here, India played a very, very vital role, bringing American face to face with Pakistan. After the Mr. Modi's visit to USA, so the whole scenario was changed, and they had occupied lot of space of their own interest in the US administration, and the Trump was probably had given some consent and had tilted toward the Indian viewpoint. So that was the major thing, that was a setback to Pakistan, that the country which had suffered the major brunt of the effects of the terrorism in the world. Our sacrifices in the world are the highest in number, whether they are the civilian, the military personnel, or it is men or material, it is economic losses, and our culture. The terrorists, they destroyed our schools, they attacked our schools, they wanted to basically destroy the future of Pakistan. They try to.
So I want to bring you, just jog your memory back to the time when the fall of the Soviet Union took place, and the Americans basically abandoned Pakistan to deal with the fallout of the creation of the Taliban and the Mujahideen who fought the Russians. And then once the Taliban government took over in Afghanistan, Pakistan remained abandoned by the US. And not only that, we were in fact sanctioned by the US at that time. Am I correct, sir, in stating that? So then what does that really say about Pakistan and United States relationship? Had it not been for Osama bin Laden and 9/11, maybe we would never have seen the Americans again.
Okay, if we go up to 71, before ever since the creation of Pakistan, Pakistan was almost having good relation with America and trying to improve the relationship. It never went into any other bloc, right? But in even 71, when the Pakistan was at the verge of being broken, they kept playing all dramas with us, that their fleet is coming, their help is coming, which never came, right? So it was very, very evident, even in 71, but where their loyalty was centered, where they were standing against Pakistan at that time. But the Pakistan was requiring help from them, being their allies, were very loyal country in the world, that it was all the time with supporting the American agenda here. And once it was broken, then probably Pakistan did realize what has happened to us.
Right.
And it was a big lesson for us at that time. Now, after 89, once the American left, Russian had withdrawn from Afghanistan, they left their unfinished agenda. They just ran away, they packed up, they did not leave any solution behind. And resultantly, there was all fighting, and warlords were fighting in Afghanistan and trying to grab power. And in till such time, the next attack of 9/11, that period, they had never ever asked Pakistan, they were never helpful to Pakistan, they never came to Afghanistan, what is happening. And when at that time, it was the terrorism, extremism, it was breeding in Afghanistan. It a mushroom growth in that period, it came. That was the right period to intervene and control that.
Well, sir, I want to also bring into discussion a study that was done by Nita C. Crawford, an update on the human costs of the war in Afghanistan and Pakistan 2001 to 2016. It was released in 2017, and it endorses Pakistan's and Islamabad's claim that the war in Pakistan began as Al-Qaeda and the Taliban fled from Afghanistan into the northwest regions of Pakistan in 2001. She also notes that Pakistan's losses remain underreported, showing how the estimates of losses in drone attacks range from a low of 158 to 2,657 civilian deaths. And she also endorses Pakistan's claim that increased intensity of fighting in Afghanistan could have a spillover effect in Pakistan. So with all these facts that are generated not by Pakistanis but scholars that are studying the situation in the US, they're all saying this, sir. It also notes that more than 1 million people were displaced in 2014 in the military operation in North Waziristan. So having said all of this, sir, why does Pakistan still need to prove that we've done more than our share of work?
I think we
still need to do more.
It's not Pakistan which is proving or is trying to prove that we are right. It is right within America, the voice is coming up. Hillary Clinton has recently, she has stated that the Pakistan has suffered a lot as long as the terrorism is concerned. Petraeus, the ex-CIA chief, he has very clearly in one of the statements while he was addressing some seminar, there he has very clearly clarified that he during his tenure didn't find any evidence against Pakistan that it was supporting terrorism.
Absolutely, sir. We also have another study by a prominent US scholar, and that's Marvin Weinbaum. He's a scholar of South Asian affairs, and he sees a disconnect between Pakistani narrative and the general discussion on Pakistan in US official circles, in NGO circuits, and in the media. So, sir, the question is that why does this disconnect exist? Why is it that Pakistan is unable to put across its point of view and its factual position and make it understood by our American friends, that they don't seem to understand what the problem really here is?
I think they do understand because the relationship between the Pakistan security force and Pentagon and other security agencies of US has been very close, and the military Pakistani army has been given them extensive briefings on what is happening in Afghanistan, on Pakistan-Afghanistan border, what they are doing, what kind of operations the Pakistan army is undertaking.
But why does that message get lost, sir? Why doesn't it get across?
Because the Americans probably they don't want to listen to it. But going back into history, in '65, when Indians attacked Pakistan, it was General Ayub Khan, the president of Pakistan, who wrote a letter to the then president of the United States asking for help of US, because under SEATO and CENTO, US was bound to help Pakistan when it was under an aggression from a foreign country. Then the US president replied in a letter which has been reproduced in the book written by Ayub Khan, Friends Not Masters. The American president wrote back, since you are not being attacked by a communist power, we are not bound to give you help. And during the '65 war, when we were under aggression by India, the entire military and economic aid was suspended to Pakistan. This is not the first time. Second, the '71 issue that mentioned, we were waiting for the 6th fleet to come and rescue us. It never came. And again, from when the Soviet troops left Afghanistan back in '88, '89, the Pressler Amendment was brought in, and Pakistan was sanctioned. For almost 11 years, Pakistan was the most sanctioned country. The US suspended its military and economic aid for Pakistan. And now it is the repeat of the same story again. We have been denied all this economic and military aid has been suspended again. So this relationship has been very topsy-turvy relationship between the US and Pakistan. There have been ups and downs. But now that the geostrategic position in the region is changing, Pakistan is also looking for different options. And Pakistan has entered into an agreement with China on CPAC. So we are also trying to find other avenues to seek help from the regional countries, and we are trying to build new alliances. Although the US and Pakistan alliance has been centuries, decades old, but this has not been a very stable, reliable alliance. And always the US has been turning its back on Pakistan. This is the 4th or 5th time that we are suffering from the US policy, because it has repeated the same. And whenever the US interests are served in certain area, it always turns its back. As has been mentioned, that in '88, '89, when the Soviets left Afghanistan, the US was satisfied with the situation. They said, okay, we have bled the Red Army and we have pushed them out of Afghanistan, so our interest is served. And they turned their back on us and they sanctioned Pakistan. They suspended military and economic aid. And I believe that again, after 15 years, the US is doing the same, suspending the military and economic aid, although Pakistan has been getting the CSF funds. Only after conducting the operation, we used to go to the Americans.
Present them the bill.
Yeah, exactly, bill. And then they would verify
yes.
and audit and then release the money. And $255 million they still owe to Pakistan under CSF, and now they have suddenly said no more money.
Well, sir, the embassy in the US, Pakistani embassy, tries its best to project Pakistan's point of view in influential circles, including the administration, Congress, media, NGOs. But it does not seem to have made any impact that could persuade the people to listen to Pakistan's side of the story. And they say, or they think, that this is apparently because of the negative image and stories that keep emanating from Pakistan, which dominate the US and international media, and they're also reported with an angle that cannot generate much sympathy for Pakistan. Now, who can we blame for this situation, sir?
Because if we see, it is not overnight that this situation has been, we are confronted with the situation. Definitely, the people who were working against our interest were again very busy trying to create that space there of their own interest. So, very clearly the Indian have worked a lot there in their community, on the diplomatic channels, and then especially their relationship with the present Trump administration. So, they could make some headway in that, pushing back Pakistan and trying to create this disconnect between our relations. So, there is no problem. The Pakistan has many other options in this regard, and one is that we should still try to improve our relationship with America. It is yet a superpower, and I think we should remove all their doubts, whatever there is, from time to time.
I'm glad you said that, sir, because let's get on to the next part of the discussion, and that is where the United States has said that they've conveyed concrete steps to Pakistan that they must take in order to resume the security aid flow and improve the relations, as you were talking about, sir. So the most basic thing is that the Taliban and Haqqani network leadership, the attack planners, should no longer be able to find safe haven or conduct operations from Pakistani soil. And then they further go on to clarify that we stand ready to work with Pakistan to combat terrorist groups without distinction. We will continue these conversations with the Pakistani government in private. Sir, would you like to comment on that?
No, they very rightly know, they know their vulnerability also, that very much staying in Afghanistan, they have lot of dependence on Pakistan. Their main line of communication and their main route is through Pakistan. And how can they stay, live in Afghanistan, they fight in Afghanistan, and they're dreaming to get some big victory in Afghanistan without the cooperation of Pakistan? By very location of Pakistan here in this region, the Americans cannot stay there in Afghanistan without having improved relationship with Pakistan. So they have lot of vulnerabilities sitting there. Just see this route that they are using here for their all support, Pakistan has provided them throughout. But now it is very difficult for Pakistan, I think, to continue with the same interest and with same zeal and enthusiasm to support them after having listening such very stupid type of the statements and the policies which is tarnishing the image of Pakistan as a country in the comity of the nation, you know. So it is very difficult now for Pakistan. But as I have already said, that we are very responsible nuclear power, we are a responsible nation. So we would always have a, we will prefer as a good option to improve our relationship with all the neighbors and especially with the United States sitting in Afghanistan. So we are trying. But on the other side, no, I think with all this protest and reaction of Pakistan and our response, they have realized that they have no other option than to improve their relationship with Pakistan, and they are giving this. But I tell you, Pakistan should remain firm, which should and having complete resolve with their policy, and should only give.
And we must keep our own national interests first, sir.
First, and give only that much space to improving relationship to America, which are just required. Because this is a golden time in the history of Pakistan for the Pakistan to slip away from their lap. For last 70 years, we are sitting in their lap. What we got? We got just nothing. right?
Well,
now
sir,
we have open option that we have the China, we have the CPEC. We should improve our economic resources
maybe we should be more self-reliant, sir,
and more
to begin with.
self-reliance, and for our respect, for our dignity, for our sovereignty. I think such policies and listening such statements, they don't commensurate really with our future plans and dreams that the Pakistan and our potential that we have. It's high time that we should take a very firm decisions.
Well, sir, one of the Pentagon spokespersons, Colonel Rob Manning, has said that the suspension of the funding is not permanent at this time, and the money has not been diverted elsewhere. But the CIA chief, Mike Pompeo, sir, when reporting, or rather when asked a question from a reporter, said that Pakistan continues to provide shelter to terrorists who target US citizens, saying that this is no longer going to be acceptable. If they fix this problem, then we are happy to continue to engage with them and be their partner, but if they don't, we're going to protect America. That's what Mr. Mike Pompeo said. Javeed sir, would you like to comment on this particular point of view?
Well, I think this has been repeated on a number of occasions in the past. I think for the last 5 to 6 years, the Americans have been, repeating this mantra that Pakistan is supporting Haqqani network, that Pakistan is providing safe havens to Haqqanis and some Taliban factions on their side, that they're protecting them, and Pakistan is playing double game. On the one hand, it is siding with us in the fight against terrorists and extremists, but on the other hand, it is also providing shelter to them. And Pakistan has been constantly denying these allegations. Pakistan has been very clearly, unambiguously saying that no, we are not providing any safe havens to these people, Haqqanis and other Taliban factions that you are talking about. And if you have concrete evidence, you should provide us. And I think, I'm sure that in the conversations that have been taking place between the Pakistan military leadership and their military leadership and the civilian military leadership jointly, I think these discussions have taken place, that there has been exchange of information. So I don't think that Pakistan can hide the terrorist and extremist safe havens in Pakistan. Pakistan has conducted very vigorous operations against terrorist safe havens. North Waziristan, for instance, there has been a demand from the United States that Pakistan should go after terrorists in North Waziristan. Pakistan did it finally, and General Rahil Sharif, he started the operations Zarb-e-Azab, which actually decimated all the safe havens that were there on North Waziristan. So, and many of these terrorists, they fled from Pakistan into Afghanistan. And other areas have also been cleared in Pakistan. So I don't know, I mean, it's really very perplexing, the allegation that has been leveled against Pakistan, that it is protecting and giving safe havens to Haqqani terrorists and other factions of Taliban on its side. I don't think it is possible for Pakistan to hide this, to camouflage it, because it is being seen through various eyes. You have these aerial surveillance, you have the intelligence resources where you can get the information as to who is hiding where. So the Americans are completely, I think they are repeating again and again that Pakistan is doing this and Pakistan is doing that. But Pakistan, I think, wants concrete evidence of the fact that it is providing safe havens to these people who are attacking the US and NATO troops in Afghanistan.
Yes, sir. I want to just mention for the last time that when the host who was interviewing Mr. Mike Pompeo asked Mr. Pompeo that Pakistan provides a number of facilities to the United States counterterrorism forces in exchange for the aid, and whether that could be a national security problem for the US, whether this relationship can continue the way it's continuing, at which point Mr. Pompeo responded that the president has made very clear that he needs Pakistan to cease being a safe haven for terrorists that threaten the United States of America, and period, full stop. That's how he responded. Now, when we have that sort of a response, end period, full stop, that's what it is, then how do we actually break through and try to get our message across when there seems to be a wall that has been constructed and no message seems to get through?
I think here the diplomacy, Pakistan's diplomacy has to function, and they have to convey this message to the United States. And I believe that the diplomatic channels are open, the discussions are going on. Our ambassador in Washington, he has made it clear that he is in touch with the US administration, the State Department, other relevant quarters, where he is trying to give this message that Pakistan means business, that Pakistan is not betraying the US as it is being alleged by the President of the United States and other people also in Washington. There's a crowd of people which keep
of course,
alleging.
the enemies of Pakistan.
Yeah, they're alleging.
They're in the corridors of the White House.
Exactly. And I think the Indians have also played their hand.
Exactly.
And they have been able to poison the minds of the policymakers in Washington, and they have been convincing them that Pakistan is playing a double game with you, that Pakistan is providing shelter to terrorist groups. And the Kashmiri groups, particularly, the groups which were operating in Kashmir, like Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed and others, the US, the Indians were able to get them banned through the US influence in the United Nations. So, the Indians are playing their card very well, and we need to have a very strong, robust response, diplomatic response to this conspiracy which has been engineered by the Indians, and they have been able to achieve their objectives to some degree. So Pakistan has to neutralize the spreading influence of India in Washington.
But unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the case. That's not happening. Brigadier Saab, please, if you'd like to make a comment, but I also want to ask you about China.
There are a number of channels already operative and working between Pakistan and USA, and those channels can be pursued vigorously, and we can get across our viewpoint, at least there. Secondly, time and again there is a reputation coming from the Americans that Haqqanis are there, or there are certain other groups against Afghanistan that the Pakistan is supporting. We can sit with them, we can ask them that you have one of the best technology in the world. You can pinpoint, you can tell us, develop them target, give us, Pakistan can take the action against them. So each and every inch of your FATA, the Americans knows even better than Pakistan, I tell you. So there is nothing hidden from their eye.
Sir, at the same time, China has opposed this idea of linking terrorism to any country and then placing the onus of responsibility of counter-terrorism entirely on the shoulders of one country. Now, that is very unfair, sir, by any standards. Now, that is what we seem to be facing at the moment, that we are the ones being made a scapegoat and a punching bag for everybody's collective NATO's failure in Afghanistan. So, do you think that's a fair point, sir?
Yes, I think it is very encouraging on the part of China that they have come up and they have very openly given their statement. Because now it is the China has to now come into this game and make the USA realize that the Pakistan is a country which is important and which is now having a very close economic project with Afghanistan, and now it cannot be treated as the Pakistan is being treated since last many years, that the Americans are giving us the requirement of do more and many other such requirements. So I think it's quite encouraging, and it is a very good message also for the rest of the world also.
Absolutely, sir.
That the Chinese have come up.
Absolutely. That's
right?
what I was going to ask you now, sir, that don't you think that this message has far more global importance, because the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman said that pointing fingers at each other is not conducive to the global counterterrorism effort. And not only that, he further said that China defends the countries that make anti-terrorism efforts in a just and fair way. China also welcomes all global efforts on the basis of mutual trust and mutual respect against terrorism. Isn't that the way a diplomatic engagement is supposed to take place, sir? Now, when we have that sort of an attitude being displayed by another country, would not we want to work and engage with them rather than work with somebody who accuses of being deceitful and a liar, frankly, sir?
When I just would like to mention, when the incident, very serious incidents like APS attack in Peshawar, where was Mr. Trump at that time?
Probably in Trump Tower, sir.
He was not even in politics,
Right.
right? He was trying to come into politics and he was dreaming to become the president of USA, and he was planning for that. He was not in active politics at that time. But the Pakistan at that time was also fighting against the terrorism. So now we have more experience of fighting terrorism on our own soil, and somebody coming from thousands of miles away and telling us and dictating us that you are not properly fighting terrorism on your own soil. So this is something very strange. I have already told you that it is very simple. They can always come up and they can tell Pakistan, here are the sanctuaries of those Haqqanis, whereas the Haqqanis are already history now in Pakistan. They fight inside Afghanistan. They have no more any camp, any background here or any support mechanism from the Pakistan, because after especially the operation in the North Waziristan, there is no such sanctuary, and Pakistan has cleared 35,000 square miles of the area of the FATA out of total about 50,000 kilometers of the area. So it is major portion is already clear, and the Pakistan army has established the writ of the country, and the Americans, they know it. I tell you, it is not only the FATA. FATA is just, they have taken it just a point. There are many other irritants behind this policy. There are many other irritants of Mr. Trump, of his own personality. These are not only issue of the United States or between issues between two countries. Now that book is very much there in rest of the world. Everybody is reading that book. It is very clear in that book, and the people want to now understand also that is such a superpower can be led by such personalities, and what can be the consequences of that. Whatever the damage is done now, I think the Americans have to take maybe decades and more time to repair that, because if this country like Pakistan, it slips away from here and it get into its own business, improving the economic resources, its military power, and having more cooperation with Russia
neighbors.
and neighbor like Iran, and then it will be late for the USA also. It will be difficult for the USA also then to handle the situation, because as long as the trust deficit is concerned, Pakistani nation has time and again learnt a very, very big lesson from the Americans, that Pakistan must read the definition of loyalty every time.
That's very unfortunate, sir. But let's move on to our third topic, sir, which is also equally important, and that is the one which raises several red flags and question marks in the minds of not just the citizens of Pakistan itself, but also from maybe our allies and friends like the US specifically, sir. And that is when the Peshawar High Court, sir, has decided to give bail, or has accepted the bail application of Sufi Muhammad, the TSNM leader, sir. And as we all know, sir, the Swat police station had booked this TSNM chief for hate speech against the government. In that speech, Sufi Muhammad had termed the constitution un-Islamic and demanded the enforcement of Sharia. A number of cases were also registered against Sufi Muhammad, and in each case, witnesses against him either died or they could not be traced. So in 2009, a peace deal was signed with his proscribed organization. He was exercising much influence and had even stopped regular courts from functioning in Swat. So now that is the situation that was created by this man, and the Peshawar High Court finds in their wisdom to release him, sir. What would you like to say about that? What kind of a message does that send across the world? Javed Sahib, if you'd like to also comment on this, sir?
Well, I think Sufi Muhammad's influence has been waning with the passage of time. And probably Sufi Muhammad is not that much influential today as he was 10, 15 years back. Much water has flown from under the bridges since then. I don't think he wields much influence and is able to motivate or activate his followers to create any trouble or for, create a situation for the government. So I think the time is the biggest healer. And by the time, this decision has been taken by the High Court, I believe that they have calculated that Sufi Muhammad's influence to create any problem or any law and order situation for the government is, I think, minimal.
Well, but later on, sir, he also did say or state some edicts in which he said that the Tehreek-e-Taliban of his son, Fazlullah, was completely un-Islamic, and he also had fatwas against the Taliban that were operating in Swat after that.
That's right.
I want to get Brigadier Saab's point of view, sir. But when we see that such persons who are prescribed organization leaders and are also considered as fourth schedulers or terrorists, how should the government be dealing with them, sir, and what kind of a message does it give?
I think if we trace back the history of Swat, this trouble was created by Sufi Muhammad, right? He is the architect of creating this trouble. However, once he was arrested, number of times he was arrested, sent to jail, and he came out. It is for him, it is a normal lifespan like this. But his son-in-law, Maulana Fazlullah, was more smart, and he has hijacked his entire movement and turned it to militancy. So his concept of his movement was slightly different. So he had certain differences with Maulana Fazlullah because he is now a terrorist. But as long as Sufi Muhammad is concerned, he is a very old man. His influence is, I think, very little in the area. And last time also, he was only released with lot of promises he made. But once he went back to Swat, he again did the same.
Yes.
And I tell you, send him back to Swat, give him a mic, he will repeat the same speech, even if he is at this stage. So I think he should be kept away from Swat in some better living environment, so he should have a better quality of life for the rest of his life.
The amazing thing is, sir, that as far as I know, Sufi Muhammad does not even belong to Swat. I think he hails from Dir. So then why does he enjoy such a huge influence in Swat where he's not even from?
No, it's not only Swat that we can say it is just one district, it was the whole area. But
do you think that the decision of the High Court is the correct one, sir? Because he is a dangerous person. Of course, you have just yourself mentioned that he would be indulging in similar activities if he was given a chance. Then why do you think that such decisions are taken, sir?
Waqas, we are just discussing here, is Sufi Muhammad the only one? The Pakistan is littered with such people.
That's true, sir.
Right? And
maybe it is that the government needs to crack down.
He is just now, out on bail. They are sitting on a very, very important chair, right there in heart of Pakistan. So we have to look inward also. There is a lot of things to improve on home front also. And the big, releasing Sufi Muhammad is not that dangerous. The corruption is the biggest problem of Pakistan.
Absolutely, right. And that is on so many levels, sir.
Yes.
We need to do a different program, a totally different show.
After the terrorism, the Pakistan must fight side by side the corruption in Pakistan.
Absolutely, sir. We'll keep that for another show, though. Thank you so much for sharing your views with PTV World, sir, and taking out the time for PTV World. Well, you heard the conversation, and in conclusion, we hope that the US-Pakistan relationship improves in the coming days and weeks. Hope that misunderstandings can be removed, and together a partnership can be formed for the better and greater good of the entire world. With that hope, and on that note, it's goodbye.